Hello everyone and welcome back to Full House Sports here with myself, Charlie. Right, something that's gone under the radar a little bit, well, I think understandably gone under the radar, is that the Chris Eubank Benn Undercard was released. I think it was Saturday it was released, or Friday. It was released over the weekend. Anyways, and I think it's fair to say it's quite underwhelming, to be honest with you. There is Richard Riakporhe versus Tommy Welch, Sam Gilly versus Ishmael Davis, Jack Catterall versus Eko Esteban, and Adam Azim versus Zal Abdullayev. But I think overall for a stadium show, and I did check ticket sales, and I know it's a massive stadium, there's going to always be probably tickets going, but ticket sales aren't exactly going swimmingly, let's be fair to say, I don't think, looking at the Ticketmaster. And I don't think this undercard's going to do it any favours either. You know, the first fight sold itself on that it was Eubank versus Benn. That was always going to sell well. I said in my video last week that I felt that the fight was pointless to an extent. I still stand by that I think the fight is pointless. And I think it needed a solid undercard to sell it. And I don't think it's got that, to be honest with you. Jack Catterall versus Eko Esteban. Unfortunately, I think Jack Catterall may have his copybook blotted from his last performance against Harley Eubank. Listen, I've watched Jack Catterall live. I like Jack Catterall. I like him as both a boxer and a person. I say as a person, I've not met him, but the guy he comes across as, I like him a lot. It's going to be a tough fight against Eko Esteban. Of course, he's coming off the win against Josh Taylor. Whether that was initially planned or that was in the works, Jack Catterall versus Josh Taylor too, and obviously best made plans and all that didn't quite work out. You know how it is in boxing. That is a decent fight at welterweight, and I think the winner of that might be looking at Lewis Crocker and going, that's who's going to fight him, because Crocker seems to be calling out Conor Benn, but I think he's going to be waiting a fair while if he wants Conor Benn. There's no way the IBF, who are the most strict of the four governing bodies, are going to let Conor Benn come back down to welterweight and get a title shot straight away. So I think that might be an interesting one. Adam Azim, I don't know what's going on with him. You know, Dalton Smith and Adam Azim are permanently linked. Dalton Smith's going to Puerto Rico by the looks of it to fight Subriel Mateas. And Adam Azim's fighting a blown up lightweight. And there's some really good fights out there at super lightweight. There's loads of fights. When you go down the rankings and you look, you know, who he could fight, who he could take on. And he's not, I don't know if they could have given him a top. Look at like Jack Rafferty, for example. I know he probably wants to rematch Mark Chamberlain, but could they not have put him on the card? That would have been a great domestic fight. Pierce O'Leary. Could they not have put that on with Adam Azim? I know there's talk that Adam Azim's quite, well, Ben Shalom anyways, he's quite protective of him. He turned down the Sean McComb fight, apparently, on one of the undercards. I think that was the Ben Eubank one undercard, apparently that fight was turned down. The Abdullayev fight, it's a blown up lightweight. Richard Riakporhe versus Tommy Welch, it's an interesting fight. Again, that British heavyweight mix, I want to do a video on that actually soon, because it's a really interesting mix, but Richard Riakporhe's career is in a weird spot at the minute, I feel. Obviously, he made his heavyweight debut on the Canelo Skull undercard. Now he's fighting Tommy Welch. I'm not sure if Boxer are going to try and get him that win, and then he potentially fights the winner of Clark TKV. That does seem like an obvious route to go down. Everyone's with Boxer, though they could then make that fight quite comfortably and quite easily back on the BBC. And last but not least is Ishmael Davis versus Sam Gilly. Ishmael Davis off the back of a tight loss to Kevin Adjiako. I thought Davis won the fight personally, but you could see it going either way. But he's back on another major card. I mean, I said in my Crocker Donovan preview, he's a promoter's dream. He always gives 100%. He always is willing to save cards. He's willing to take fights no one else is. He's a bit of a road warrior, and I like that. And Sam Gilly, he's another likeable fighter as well. I think Ollie Mers is in his corner, or good friends with him, so he's a very likeable guy. Not because Ollie Mers is in his corner, just in interviews and stuff, he comes across as quite likeable. But I can't help but feel the undercard's quite underwhelming. And I know people will say, yeah, but you're going to be the same person to moan and say that UK shows aren't selling enough tickets or there's not enough boxing in the UK. You're right, I am. I am that type of person. But it's a stadium show. You've got to have a good undercard. You cannot sell it. I mean, Callum Smith, what's he doing? Could he not have been on the undercard? There's one example just off the top of my head that I've just thought of. Could they not have put him on the undercard? There's others as well that I think fights that could have took place that aren't taking place. Could Aaron McKenna not have got, who's on the first undercard, could he not have got on the second undercard? Could you not have got him fighting another middleweight, even a middleweight champion? None of them guys are making decent money. It just feels really underwhelming, the undercard. And the whole event's starting to feel a bit drab, to be honest with you. Listen, people will watch it for the nostalgia factor. I will probably watch it. I've said this, but I don't think the undercard's doing it any favours. And like I say, the case of Adam Azim, certainly, he has to start stepping up. Surely he has to start stepping up. He has to start taking tougher opposition. Whether it's because Boxer can't afford the tougher opposition that we demand, I don't know. But he's ranked with, I think, 3 out of the 4 governing bodies. He's got to start looking at their rankings and go, right, who could I take on? And there's some great fights out there for him. Could he not have maybe looked at, I don't know, is Puello too much at this point? I mean, I've named 2. I've named Piers O'Leary and I've named McComb. I've named 3 actually, say about Jack Rafferty's. Well, could he not have took on one of them? Just feels a bit, again, like he's going to look good, but we don't really learn anything from this. Riyad Paul Welch, I think, is a decent fight, but again, it's one of them ones where you're thinking, is that just a tee up? It's not. It doesn't get you really excited. And I say Ishmael Davis, Sam Gilly, a good domestic scrap, but again, that actually is a fight that gets me excited. I think that'll be a very good scrap. But also, is that an indication? But this is a Riyadh season card. Is that an indication of Turki Al-Sheikh maybe not stumping up as much money when it comes to Matchroom and Boxer and Queensbury? Is that him sort of looking at it and going, no, I'm not going to prop you up now. I'm not going to fund your undercards. You're going to have to do this off your own back. Because I'm now looking at Dana White and I'm looking at my own thing, the rig, and I'm looking that way. Is that where he's maybe looking at it and going with that? I don't know. Let us know what you guys think. Thank you very much for watching as always. Please give us a like. Please subscribe if you like the content. Thank you very much for watching as always. Have a great day.